Hey, welcome back everybody. Tonight's lesson we're going to talk about the hole wizard again. We're going to move to a counterbore hole, and we're also going to talk about reference dimensions, and when we're going to put an arc in, we're going to talk about how to move from a line command to an arc command without having to select anything new. So our part has a couple different levels. It's a 1/4 inch tall on one level, and the overall height is going to be 1 inch overall height. So let's go ahead and get started. New part, make sure that you're in ANSI inch. We're going to start with the extruded boss base on the top plane. I'm going to use the line command to begin with. I'm going to pull it vertical, snap, pull it horizontal, pull another one vertical, try to get pretty close to this. Now, as I terminate that line, I pull it away from it, and I come back and I kind of tickle the end point, and then I got a concentric symbol that shows up. So that means that I'm going to be in an arc command without selecting anything else. So I can just come over and just draw an arc somewhere. Don't worry about if it's not tangent or anything else. We're going to correct that in just a moment. So I'm going to terminate it there. I'm going to use the escape key a couple times. So now I no longer have anything selected. Now our shortcut for adding relations is to hold the control key down, select both vertical lines, and we'd like to make those equal. Now remember, from our dimensions, I'm going to select a smart dimension, and I want to pick the arc itself, and that was 0.5. Now the length of this particular line was 0.75. Alright, I'm going to hit the escape key a couple times. I want to make sure that I don't have anything selected. So we're going to add another relation, and then we'll have this sketch fully defined with those two dimensions and our relations. So hold the control key down, pick your horizontal line, next pick your origin, and we want to make that midpoint. Click out in the model space somewhere, verify that we are fully defined, and we are, so we want to exit our sketch. And since we'd selected extruded boss before, it's going to automatically put us back into extrusions. We want to make the magnitude 0.25, so that's how thick our first level is. Next, what we want to do is put another extrusion on this top surface or top face. So pick extruded boss face, select this face. Shortcut is Control-8 if you need to. I'm going to use a corner rectangle. I'm going to start in this top left hand corner, one mouse click, pull it over to the right hand edge, and a second mouse selection. I'm going to terminate that by selecting smart dimension, pick the vertical line. Remember this being 0.25, and we are now fully defined as well. I'm going to rotate it around a little bit where we can see what's going on when I exit the sketch. Our extrusion is heading uphill. We've already had a 1/4 inch from here to here. Overall height is 1, so 1 minus 0.25 would be 0.75, and we accept this. Alright, so we're getting closer to what we want to see as far as our sketch. We do need to remove this little bit of material. We want to leave this, and we want to take this angular section off. Now if you look right here, we have a 0.57, but it's in parentheses, so it's in a reference dimension. We really don't want to use that in the model. It's going to be affected by these two dimensions here, and we'll explain that in just a moment. So we have 0.75, 0.38, 0.38, and 30 degrees. Alright, so we want to create a cut. So I select cut, and I'm going to select this face here, get, and I'm going to Control-8 and normal 2. So I'm going to use a line. I want to come over here and tickle this right hand side. I don't want to snap midpoint because I want to give it some dimensions. So we want to pick the edge, come up to the edge, move it over. I don't want to stop on midpoint. I'm going to go past it. Next line, down a little bit, and next line terminates at this left hand edge. Use your escape key a couple times. So we now have a line, a line, a line, and a line. Don't forget this one. Sometimes that's a mistake that people will make. So smart dimension, from the bottom edge to this line was 0.75. A horizontal dimension from here was 0.38. This line up here was also 0.38. Now we've got an angular dimension, which is a little bit different. So we pick an edge and we pick the line. Now if I pull it out this quadrant, it's going to give me something. I'll have to do some math. But I pull it over in this quadrant. I know that on my drawing it said 30 degrees. Pull it on this side, and it's same thing. We'd have to do math. You can pull it down here wherever. So just make sure that when you place it is where you want it. So I'm going to place it here, and I want it to be 30 degrees. Now our sketch is fully defined, but the one thing that we had on our drawing, remember this 0.57? I want to show you that. So I'm going to select this bottom edge and this end point, and I'm going to place it down. It's going to yell at me for just a moment. It says that my part is over-defined, and I want to make this dimension driven. So this is going to change based on all of our other dimensions. So we'll just make sure that this one is driven. Now notice, it's the same, these numbers are the same that were on our drawing, but this one is different. Now, I made the model earlier and I used 3 place decimals on everything, so I know that if I double click on this one, I'll change it to 0.375. See, we got a rounding issue going on. It's still 0.38. So I need to change this one to 0.375 as well. Notice how it changed that to 0.57. I'm not going to give you permission to go on the assumption that you need to change these to 0.375 or whatever else. Whatever's on the drawing is what you really and truly need to go by. If you ever have any doubt about clarification, you need to talk to the engineer that's over the project. So with this, I want to exit my sketch. We're looking normal onto this. You know, we have our arrow that's pointing down, so that means that I'm going to remove all of this material. That's not what I want. And I also want to come over and give this thing a distance or a direction. You know, I want to make sure it's going through everything. I don't really want to have to think about it because I know I always want that shape. Now, I can flip this arrow by using this flip side to cut on this left hand side. I can toggle it as many times as I want to. Now it's facing down. That's not what I want. Or I can come back over here and I can flip it by clicking on the arrow itself. So I do want to remove everything that's above it, so I want to accept this as well. Alright, so we're getting closer. That's kind of what we want our model to look like when we're now we have to put this counterbore hole in. So what this counterbore hole is telling us is we have a diameter of 0.18 that goes through everything. We also have a counterbore that has a diameter of 0.31 with a depth of 0.16. So that sounds like a lot of information that's in there, but it's a little bit easier than you think. I think this is a number 8 screw, socket head cap screw. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this face, and I'm going to use a Control-8 command, and then I'm going to click out on the space where I'm looking normal to our view. Alright, so I want to come up and pick the hole wizard command, which is kind of in the middle of your toolbars up at the top. It's going to load everything up. This top left one over here, you know, we have counterbore, countersink, simple hole, threaded hole, taper tap, legacy hole, slots, and don't remember, that's another type of slot that doesn't have a counterbore or countersink on it. So we do want to be in the counterbore section, so make sure that you have it selected. Make sure that your standard is on ANSI inch. We also want to make sure that we're on socket head cap screw, and our size, this is pretty big for the part that we have, so we want to change our size. So I want to drop this down and I want to roll up. So we want to use a number 8, and I want to go the end condition, I want it to go through everything. I'm just going to leave all of these blank for right now. So that's our parameters that we want for the hole. Now positions wise, we're going to select positions, and it's telling us to create a 3D sketch, but I just want to pick this particular face here. Now I'm just going to come tickle the edge of this. I'm not going to click or anything, but I tickle the edge. I can't seem to get the concentric symbol to show up. I'm just going to place it, but I know that's really not where I want it to be. So I'm going to hit the escape key one time, and I'm going to use my control and pick this edge. So I have that point and I have this edge, and I want to make it concentric. Check, and I'm going to click out. We're now fully defined. That dot went from blue to black, so this is where the center of our holes are going to be. We're fully defined. Now I hit the check mark to accept everything that we've done, and we now have created a counterbore hole to where we can put a socket head cap screw, and the head of the screw would actually be sitting below this surface so it wouldn't interfere with anything else. So use the Control-7 command and save this in the proper naming format and submit this in your LMS.